The Cathouse Private Rock and Roll Dance Club opened in 1986, and back then, we had a good circle of friends. Most of my friends were in bands that were just starting to get record deals, and it was always weird for me, that one guy, Riki Rachtman, that wasn't in the band. I mean, even my roommate, Tammy Down, who helped me open the Cathouse, he started a band called Faster Pussycat. He got a record deal. They went gold. They went out on tour. And as all of our friends in our circle got bigger, they helped the Cathouse get more notoriety. The biggest example, of course, is Guns N' Roses, who not only played the Cathouse a bunch of times, filmed the It's So Easy video at the Cathouse. Axl wore a Cathouse shirt in the Paradise City video, and Slash still gets up on stage with a Cathouse shirt. Those guys always helped build Cathouse. It was great. And all of us have some incredible stories that we're going to share with you on this podcast. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. It's kind of cliche, I guess, but that is really what the Cathouse was all about back then. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. And I didn't allow cameras in the Cathouse, but we all have our memory, or what's left of it. I want you to skip ahead from 86 to 1991. I had sort of started to get comfortable with my new job as the host of MTV's Headbangers Ball. One of my good friends was working at a nightclub doing sound. But in just a few days, he'll get a call to become a member of the biggest rock and roll band in the world. Joining me on episode 3 of the Cathouse Hollywood podcast is Gilby Clarke. Gilby spent 4 years as the guitarist of Guns N' Roses. And oh yeah, we've got lots of stories of the time with Guns, and just as the Cathouse was just opening. I mean, Gilby was there every step of the way. What do you think we're going to talk about? Are we going to talk about Guns N' Roses or stories that have Ace Frehley, Sebastian Bach? What about girls playing softball? What about the time that I almost took Gilby out of Guns N' Roses? Yeah, we got stories, and we're going to sit down and share them with you. It's Hollywood. It's summer. It's nice and warm. You can feel the electricity in the air, can't you? Well, the Cathouse hasn't opened yet, so let's get up those stairs, get somewhere comfortable to sit down, and tell some stories, because this is episode 3 of the Cathouse Hollywood podcast. Coming to you from the Cathouse South Studios in Race City, USA, this is the Cathouse Hollywood podcast, episode 3. We don't really have sponsors on the Cathouse Hollywood podcast. Sometimes I wish we did. But there's one way that you can sponsor this show is buy stuff from CathouseHollywood.com. CathouseHollywood.com is the only place to get true, high quality, authentic Cathouse Hollywood merch. We've also got OFITG and some pretty rad Headbangers Ball items as well. Go to CathouseHollywood.com and use the code Hollywood3 and get 10% off a Cathouse hoodie or hat. That's CathouseHollywood.com. The fun thing about this for me is Gilby Clarke has been one of my closest friends for how many years?
It was almost 20 years.
For many decades. But unless it's something like this, there's so much about you that I don't really know, because these are things that you never really talk to your friends about. So we're going to go way back to see what we can remember. But for instance, you are not originally from Los Angeles. You're Cleveland, right?
Cleveland, yeah. I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. I left there, I believe the year was 77, but I left with my family, with my mother, my brother, my sister, and my grandmother. It was those teenage years, you know, I was starting to get in trouble. I was kind of a bad kid, you know, in Ohio. You know,
Wait, hold on. So I was kind of a bad kid, so we should move to Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that really the thought process?
Yeah, well, the thought was my parents had just gotten divorced, and I was getting out of control. So it was kind of like a change of scenery. She just, you know, the direction I was going was bad. Some of her family had already moved to California, so she thought, you know what, change of scenery, let's move to California. And so we moved to California.
You were playing guitar at that time?
Yeah, So I was probably like 15, 16 years old. And I was already playing guitar. So when I got to California, what music for me was my way of kind of figuring out people in California. You know, like you walk down the street in California and people go, "Hey, how you doing?" Like everybody's smiling. Why wouldn't you be? It's beautiful here. You know, in Ohio, it's a little more sarcastic in Cleveland. You know, so people would say, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, never met me. I go like, "Fuck you. You don't know me." So it was my way of adapting. Was, you know, I played guitar, meeting people that liked music, going to see shows in Hollywood and things like that. I had 1 year of high school in California, and I met a lot of guys that were in bands. And
Where did you go to high school?
I went to aviation in Redondo Beach.
Okay.
But I went to 1 year. But I had a job. I worked at a music store. I went to high school. I had my band. I actually had a band. We were playing high school dances. We were playing in Hollywood. We were playing all over the place. And really wasn't sleeping very much, and my mother would say to me, "You know, you're killing yourself. I mean, it's great that you have a job, you have your band and school, but you know, you got to give something up." She was thinking the band, and so I quit school. So I gave it up, and I moved to Hollywood full time. You know, I got an ad in the paper with Jonathan and John and Kyle from Candy, and I moved in with them in Hollywood.
So this was 1984.
81.
Oh, this early.
Yeah, it's probably like 81 or
81.
something. 80, 81, yeah.
Okay, so you guys were all young.
Yeah.
Got in the band Candy. Candy was, and let me see if I can explain it pretty good. I would say taking a little Bay City Rollers in a good way.
Yes.
With punk it up a little bit and just like kind of a street punkier version of the Bay City Rollers, which is which I like.
I agree. Now people would say like in LA Weekly, they'd say we were a cross between the Bay City Rollers and the Ramones, which was fairly accurate, you know.
And Candy started doing pretty good.
Yeah, we started, you know, we were doing really well with local shows. You know, we were selling out the Troubadour, you know, selling out the Whiskey, the Roxy, the Palace.
And who were the bands that were playing at this point? That were the club bands
I mean, it was
around
big,
here?
like bands like Rat. I mean, we really weren't like any of the other bands that were out at that time. You know, Rat. I mean, I think Motley Crue was already bigger at that point, but geez, I don't know. I can't remember all those bands. This before Guns N' Roses. Way before, way before.
But you
GNR
weren't a heavier rock band.
Not at all.
So who would you play with? Because you would people would think you're kind of almost like not like a replacements, but with bands that you would play
almost
like that.
Alternative to the metal scene. You know, we played with weird bands. I mean, remembering off the top of my head, bands like The Malls. Let me see. We played with White Sister. I mean, Black and Blue. We played Black and Blue. I'm trying to think. We played with Rat. That's why I remembered that. But a lot of times we headlined our own shows. You know, we were just one of those odd bands where all the metal guys would go to our shows because the girls were at the shows. You know, and so you know, a lot of times I said they were just our own shows that we played.
Because Candy was a band that sort of used the Cathouse formula in the way of like get the girls there, and people will come.
Yep.
And Candy really was like. And I don't want to say like a boy band, but it was a band that the girls all like different members, like they did sort of in the Beatles.
Exactly, very much so. Yeah, everybody had their thing of which, because the guys all kind of had their different personalities. You know?
And there was a brief time that you left Candy.
Yes, true.
And that's where I came into the picture.
Yeah.
Do you know the whole story?
Well,
because you weren't there.
Yeah, because I was. So things weren't. We had our major label record deal. We did our tour and all that kind of stuff, and we were on MTV, believe it or not. But it was before MTV really mattered, right. And so things weren't. The label wanted us to get rid of our singer, and it just things just weren't working out. I always wanted to take the band in a harder, not a metal direction, but a harder rock direction. But Kyle, you know, was a pop guy.
He wanted to be more Barry Manilow.
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to be more Barry Manilow, and I wanted to be more Billy Idol, you know. So when I think there was a moment, actually it was then, where I was going to start another band, and the guys wanted to keep Candy going, and that's where they auditioned you,
right.
And they found Ryan. But Ryan was a guitar player, you know, so they were thinking about getting a new singer and a new guitar player. And then I ended up coming back and becoming the singer-guitar player with Ryan on guitar.
So what I was told happened is, and that's where I became, because I was became good friends with Ryan Roxy, and I went to audition, And they didn't say that I would have gotten the gig, because
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have. But then you came into the picture and said, look, you guys don't have to audition a singer. You have one. I'm going to be the singer of Candy.
Yeah. Well, I think what it was when we used to have those fun bands like Trash and stuff where we would do covers and things like that. And, guys from different bands and stuff would hang out and we'd have so much fun. And it always seemed like I was like the lead singer of that band. Like I was always singing more songs. So it was kind of Jonathan's idea. He goes, you know what? Let's, Gilby's not the best singer in the band, but at least he can be a front man and do all the other stuff. And also when they found Ryan, it was like Ryan was like a perfect fit for the band, so it worked out.
This was probably around 1984, 85.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
And this was a fun time in Hollywood.
I agree. There was so much different kind of music. I mean, definitely metal was king at that time, but it was definitely getting lighter, with bands like Warrant and that kind of stuff was coming in, and the country club scene kind of came in,
which was a club in the San Fernando Valley, which is about 15 miles from Hollywood, but a million miles away in the way of culture.
Exactly. But there was so many different scenes, because there was Cathouse, there was Scream, there was White Trash, there was Bordello, and there was also, like I said, the country club scene. There was a lot going on back then.
You would go out more than just the weekends. Actually, we go out the weekends.
Matter of fact, there was less to do on weekends. There's more to do during the week.
So do you remember what it was like when Candy was playing some of the clubs at this time?
Yeah, I mean, I remember because we went through a lot of phases. Like I said, before and when we got the record deal, things were going really, really well. We were, like I said, we were headlining the Palace, the Whiskey, and I remember the Whiskey closed for a while. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And the Whiskey did a best of, like for a week. They had all the big bands that headlined the Whiskey over the years, and Candy actually headlined one of those nights. And I do remember those shows. Like I remember, it's so funny. I look back on them now, and it's so funny. Like we didn't have like roadies and techs and things like that. We carried our gear in the back of our car to play a headlining show at the Whiskey and things like that. But I do remember the camaraderie. I just remember guys used to always come to the show. I saw you at the shows. I remember the GNR guys like Slash came to the show all the time. Tammy. I mean, granted, you guys probably weren't there to see Candy. You were there for the girls.
I was there to see Candy. I like Candy. I'd wear Candy T-shirts. The time that the Whiskey was closed was the time that the Whiskey became a dance club for a short time. And I don't know if you, because you don't listen to any podcasts whatsoever. But the time that the Whiskey was a dance club, I was a DJ. This girl, Trina, came down, grabbed me. I was DJing. She goes, I'm having an after party. I went to her after party, and that's where I met Tammy.
Oh, wow.
So that's how all that stuff. So it's fun when I talk to somebody, especially like you, that all these things that they all kind of branched out, but so much of it circled into just a moments of happenstance.
Yes.
You know, that if I didn't go try to audition for Candy, I might not have met Ryan, might not have met, if I wasn't DJing at that party.
Ryan was the one who brought me to ICE the first time I met you.
So ICE was a dance club that I was a DJ. I was like a rock DJ, but wasn't playing rock and roll. It was not our scene.
Yeah. But we didn't care about that. We went for the girls once
we
again.
went for the girls. We had a great time. So do you remember so Candy's playing, then comes 1986, and I knew Ryan very well. Steve West was hanging out sort of a little bit with us, and I decided to open up Cathouse. Do you remember the first time that you came to Cathouse?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yes, I do. Yes. I remember, first of all, it wasn't real crowded.
No.
The first night.
The first night was 100 and something. Second night was 59 people. I remember that.
I remember.
And at this point, just so people know, a point of reference, this is the most famous location was on 836 North Highland. The first year it was at the Osco's Disco, which you can see in the movie Thank God It's Friday, and we've talked about.
Yeah.
It's in Beverly Hills, which is now a mall.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time at Osco's.
Yes.
That was great because they had the upstairs too, and it was a weird. I don't even remember if there was a stage there or it was just kind of a weird design, is what it was. But what I remember was you had the little membership cards, and I'm sure
I don't think the membership card started at that club. Membership cards started at the old. No,
I'm pretty sure they started. But you know what? You would know better than me. But
not necessarily, Gilby. Not necessarily.
Well, I remember getting the membership card, and I remember I don't remember if I had like 6 or 9, but I had one of the first 10 ones.
Of course.
And I remember finding that. I mean, I haven't seen it in a few years, but I remember I still have that card somewhere in my stuff.
Do you remember anything about that club? What the old club was like? Like when you would walk in do you remember the stairway at all?
Yeah. Did we enter through the back stairway or was it the front? I don't remember.
We'd enter through that back stairway that was on La
right.
Cienega, which was a dilapidated stairway.
Yeah. Well, that whole place,
the whole thing was like your leg could fall through the floor at any time.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen that club with light. You probably have, but it was.
I don't remember.
Definitely, looked good in a dark. But I remember we played, and I don't remember if it was Cathouse or if it was like a white trash night. But we did some acoustic show, and I was in Kill for Thrills, and we did it there. It was definitely at Osco's, and it was definitely upstairs. That's why I don't think it was white trash. I'm pretty sure it was a Cathouse night. Did you ever do like an acoustic night?
Which is funny because. And maybe now I figured out who it was. The first time we ever had a band play the Cathouse, because the Cathouse was a rock dance club.
Yeah.
People would show up. Our Joseph would be the DJ, and the dance floor would be packed. People were dancing,
absolutely,
and going crazy. But the one night we decided to do a Christmas party was when Guns N' Roses had the EP Live Like a Suicide.
Yeah.
So we made that the record release party, and we had acoustic. This is before MTV Unplugged.
Yeah.
We had Guns N' Roses. Faster Pussycat, L.A. Guns, Jet Boy, and surprise guests. And I wonder if you were the surprise guest.
It might have been because
that
I remember
sound familiar
playing an
at all?
acoustic show there. Yeah, and it was definitely Kill for Thrills. It's weird, but what I really remember were the earlier nights where it wasn't that crowded and listening to the music. I mean, of course, Joseph, every time I walked in, he would play the Archie song, or some Bay City Roller song or something like that. So it was always funny. It's like I always seem to, go see Joseph first and then walk around. But yeah, I remember the earlier days, like I said, where it wasn't that crowded before it really took off. My memories of the crazy nights were the Highland nights.
Which we'll get to because we were at the 836 North Highland. I mean, we're at the La Cienega location for 1 year. Mm-hmm. That place eventually got lulled because it just wasn't sanitary. And they tore the whole thing down. And we moved to 836 North Highland in 1987.
Wow.
And that's really when not only everything changed for the Cathouse, but everything changed for music altogether. 1987... What do you remember about the LA music scene at this point?
Well, once again, it was really getting nuts. There were so many bands that I would see these huge ads in the magazines, LA Weekly or BAM or whatever, that I've never seen before. I've never heard of them before, but apparently they were headlining once again, whether it was the Troubadour or the Country Club or whatever. But there were so many bands. But what I remember was. It was a kind of a small group of guys that had been around Hollywood for a long time, and we knew everybody. These people weren't all from Hollywood.
No, definitely not.
They definitely weren't. Like I said, bands were coming up, and I was like, I don't know this band. Like, how come they're selling out this place, or are they really selling out this place? So I just remember really being confused, but I did feel like there was a core group of guys that really were the Hollywood guys that were been there the whole time.
There was a big difference between the bands and, selfishly, I like to call it the Cathouse scene.
Yeah.
That I lump in the Guns N' Roses, L.A. Guns, Faster Pussycat, Jet Boy, Junkyard, all those.
I agree.
In the Cat, and that wasn't the same as the Sunset Strip with the Warrants and the stuff like that.
Yeah. People seem to lump that all in together, the Cathouse days with the Sunset Strip and all that. And I agree, it really was different. Cathouse, was a dirtier club. Like you said, it really was more, of Guns N' Roses and Faster Pussycat. And that's what I always thought of it like, I mean, the first time I saw, there's the Black Crowes. Right?
Yes.
Black Crowes played there, and Alice in Chains. I remember that. I remember Alice in Chains seeing them, and it was like I almost like didn't understand it.
Right.
They were like to me they sounded more like Black Sabbath. And it didn't like it wasn't adding up to me. Like I liked it. I could tell the songs were really good and stuff, but I wasn't really getting the idea of what they were doing.
Do you know who opened up for him that night?
No, I don't.
You don't. See, because you don't listen to the show. A band called Mookie Blaylock.
Mookie Blaylock, yeah.
Which ended up becoming...
Pearl Jam. But
right.
But they were... exactly. They were.
It was Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
It was the band they started because of their Mother Love Bone.
Yeah.
Because Andrew Wood passed away.
And I have a Mother Love Bone story. So Kill for Thrills, we had our major label deal, and we were going to go out on tour. And Rip Magazine was presenting our tour, and it was like 3 LA band or 3 new bands or something, and it was Mother Love Bone, Junkyard, and Kill for Thrills. And we had this tour, it was all set and everything, and in a week before the tour, he died. And they tried to resurrect that tour, like still make it happen with different bands and stuff, but it never happened. It actually never, ever happened. But that was our big break. I think it was a big break for all those bands because we were all on the same level at that time.
And for people that don't know about Mother Love Bone, you would have known because
Yes.
Mother Love Bone would have been with the Alice in Chains and the Soundgardens and the Pearl Jams, and they were really, really good.
They were very, very good.
I never saw them play live.
Yeah.
But,
I did see them play, but I don't remember where it was.
So around 1987, all of our friends are getting record deals.
Yeah.
Things are changing right away.
Yeah.
Where are you in 1987? Financially, job-wise,
Well, it was
everything like
I was in Kill for Thrills.
Right.
So, I mean, financially, I was probably... there were those years, too, where all of us were working at Madame Wong's.
Right.
Jonathan...
Madame Wong's was a nightclub that was sort
In
of by
Santa
Monica that
yeah.
I ended up doing a party at once a year.
Yeah, well, I ended up getting married there.
Right.
But it was more the alternative bands, like bands like the Motels,
Smithereens,
the Police, early on and stuff. Bands like that would play there. Berlin, it really wasn't, like a rock club, But I mean, rock bands did play. Guns N' Roses played there. I think everybody played there at one time.
But you were working there.
I worked there. I did sound. So my day job, when it was a night job, to get by, I did sound at a lot of the clubs. I did all of them. Like I said, I did Wong's, both of them. Chinatown, I did the Whiskey, I did the Roxy, I did Lingerie for a long time. I don't even remember all the places. But yeah, that was kind of my day job to make some money.
But you were the guy back then that everybody... Like you'd play, we'd always get up on stage and play with everybody.
Jam.
Everybody would get up on stage. I was always my go-to was What was my go-to
Surrender.
song? That's the only song they'd ever let me sing. This it was Cheap Trick
I don't know
Surrender.
why.
That's the only
It's not
song
like it's your
for like
song.
decades. For decades, it was like, oh, Ricky's here. I guess we'll have to do Cheap Trick Surrender. What are some of the bands that you remember playing at the Cathouse in the early days? You mentioned the Black
Well, once
Crowes.
again, I do remember the Black Crowes.
What was your impression when you saw the Black Crowes?
I loved them because they were Stonesy, like I thought they were fantastic. I mean, you could tell, once again, the good bands, you could tell right away they were good, Alice in Chains, like I said, it was kind of, something was dark about that whole night. Like it was hard to wrap my head around what that band was. Because the bass player, Mike, was like a metal kid, but the singer wasn't, it was definitely an odd pairing. Who else do I remember? I don't think I saw Guns at the Cathouse. I honestly can't remember that.
Cathouse was open. There were only 2 people that were ever snuck into the club underage. One was John Five,
Yeah.
and one was Daniela. You have been married to Daniela for how long?
28 years.
28 years.
Isn't
but,
that nuts?
But so you were going out with her how long?
She's 28, so it's probably like about 35, 36 years. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she wasn't old enough to get in back then.
Right.
And just to put that story in perspective, when I met Daniela, the first thing I asked her was how old she was,
Right.
and she lied to me.
Right.
She told me she was 18 and she was 16.
And he was 35 at
Yeah,
the time.
I was
No.
35. I think I was 21.
Right.
So there were years of that relationship. I honestly did not know how old Daniela was, truthfully, until we got married, which was like 6 years later or something. So Daniela was born in Israel but grew up in South Africa. So her reason to me of not having an ID was, well, I grew up in South Africa. I don't have a driver's license and blah, blah, blah. She never had that ID, and she was too young to get in Cathouse. So it was always like, Ricky, Keith, please, can Daniela, she wants to come tonight. So she had to go in through the back door.
Right. And they're still married, even though it was a relationship that was based on lies.
Yes.
It's still together through all the Cathouse hair and everything. We're going to take a break for just a minute. A matter of fact, we're going to take a coffee break, if you will. Some of you know where I'm going with this, right? A lot of bands have been releasing their own coffee. Have you noticed that lately? Every band has their own coffee. When you pick up one of those bags, look on it. You know what you'll see? The name of another coffee company. You see, all they do is just license their name off to some coffee company, and they just make the coffee. Do they really care about what goes in the bag? If you pick up a bag of Cathouse coffee, you know what other name you're going to see on it? None. Cathouse Coffee, because we are there every step of the way. Leah Vendetta and I, were there when we picked out the beans, picked out the blend, are there for the roasting. Pick it up in Mooresville, North Carolina. We take it to the Cathouse South office in Mooresville, North Carolina, put the stickers on the bag, and Karen ships it out. And we ship it out fresh. Arabica, small, craft roasted, a specialty coffee. Try Cathouse Coffee. Go to cathousecoffee.com and use the code Hollywood3, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. That's cathousecoffee.com. I'm reminiscing with my friend Gilby Clarke, and it's weird to go back at that time because I think that we were just living in a time that is so special to so many people, especially us that were there. I mean, we had a really good time back then, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. I mean, once again, we always say this, but it really was nuts. Because I don't, besides those early days at Osco's, I don't ever remember walking in that door that place wasn't packed. It was packed always. You know, in the beginning to the end years, at whenever it went to Highland, it was packed. I mean, I always remember when I walked in, the first thing I did was hang out with Colleen at the front. Right. And then I'd go upstairs and hang out with Marina.
Who was in the coat check.
At the coat check. And that's kind of my thing. Go to see Joseph. You know, you were always running around doing something, you know. But yeah, I mean, I was kind of, like I said, I almost felt like an employee, to be honest, you know, because it really was. I knew everybody there. I knew the bartenders, everything. But yeah, I mean, from my perspective of playing a show there were definitely a lot of girls there, you know, and it was, you know, pretty hot girls. They always looked good. They dressed the part, whether they were Hollywood girls or Valley girls or, you know, the Inland Empire, I don't know, but they definitely dressed the part.
The other thing about the Cathouse, when you'd walk in, something that we really never talk about much on the podcast is the motorcycles, because this was when the motorcycle culture was really starting. And, you know, Gilby and I have ridden all over and have done, we've probably ridden 100,000 miles together. I would say,
oh, yeah, absolutely.
In all the years, and just so many times and so many rides. But we didn't start with the most glamorous motorcycle journey in our very beginning.
The toughest motorcycles we had.
That's right. The 250cc Honda Rebel.
Honda Rebel.
And for people that don't know, a motorcycle, Harley has how many cc's?
Well, at least 1,000.
At least 1,000.
13.
So if you take about 5 Honda Rebels, 5 Honda Rebels is a little bit less than the amount of cc's that one Harley Davidson has. But I don't remember if we rode our Rebels to the Cathouse.
We always had to park kind of at the end.
Right.
There. We didn't really pull up right to the front. You know, we always kind of pulled up and left them down at the end where they blended in.
But the reason is we didn't have money.
No, we didn't have enough money. We never, I mean, come on. I mean, a Harley was still, as it is today, an expensive bike to buy, you know.
But once the whole Harley thing kind of took off in the 90s, you'd go to Cathouse and it was like bikes.
Oh,
the second you walked in, it was just a line.
I mean, to be honest, I look so forward to riding my bike to Cathouse. I mean, to be honest, all week I looked forward to that. That ride there was so much fun, and the pull up and that. And it was great. I mean, years later, obviously, we did have Harleys and stuff, and we got to pull up with our Harleys. And it was just so much fun because there was also, you know, guys can be competitive, you know, in the music world about their bands, and my band's better, or my band's bigger, or whatever. But that motorcycle camaraderie was really cool. You know, like I said, a lot of us guys that had the bikes out front, we stood out front hanging out on the bikes and talking to them, and, you know, having girls sit on the bikes and things like that. It was definitely like a different world besides the music.
And it also made it cool because when you'd show up at the Cathouse, before you ever walked in the door, there was a vibe. Because when you walk outside and you see 40, 50 motorcycles, and the other thing, it wasn't like a lot of people spending a lot of money on crazy motorcycles.
No,
it was just some people with their cool bikes. Yeah. And so we had that feeling of the bikers from the second that you walked into the club.
Yeah.
Now, there was a time for you that you were working at Madame Wonk's, and this was probably in the late 80s, I'm guessing, where the finances weren't so great.
I mean, to be honest, through all the 80s to the 90s, up until the GNR years, I mean, we were always struggling, always.
Then out of nowhere, you get a call.
Yes.
How does this happen?
How does the call from Slash happen? Well, this was about 91. After Kill for Thrills, I had a band called the Blackouts. And it was,
I don't know this.
Yeah. It wasn't around for very long. It was definitely when did Cathouse close? What year?
92 or 3.
Okay, so this was, like I said, it was 91 is when it was, because we played. I don't think Yes, we did play Cathouse. Blackhouse played Cathouse. We did. I'm
Okay.
positive we did.
Okay.
I'm positive. I remember. We played like the Coconut Teaser. We were more, we were definitely more like on the Black Crowes kind of side. Joe Dog from Dogs D'Amour was in the band with me. Things weren't really going very well. Like, Kill for Thrills was Candy and Kill for Thrills was fairly easy getting a record deal. It happened pretty quickly. But the Blackouts, we thought it would be a lot easier getting a record deal, but we didn't. Matter of fact, the song that I shopped on the demo was Tijuana Jail, which became a song on my first solo record. So there was word around town in 91 that Izzy was quitting GNR. Now, you got to remember, 91 in Guns N' Roses was getting a little detached from the Hollywood scene. To be honest, I didn't even know that the Illusion records were coming out. They became like the biggest band in the world and kind of lost touch to me.
Which was weird.
Yeah.
Because this was a band from the Cathouse scene.
Oh, yeah. No,
and all of our friends,
Yeah.
it was kind of weird that pretty much everybody we knew had like at least gold records.
Yeah, oh yeah.
With
yeah,
LA
yeah,
Guns
yeah.
and Faster.
Absolutely.
And I don't think Jet Boy went gold, but
Yeah.
they still had a hit.
Yeah.
That everybody we knew kind of had hit records,
Yeah.
even Poison for that
Yes,
matter.
Yeah.
But then Guns N' Roses took it to a whole nother level,
Yeah,
which
whole
was
new
always
level. Yeah.
always surreal to me. Still, sometimes when you walk into a sporting event that plays "Welcome to the Jungle,"
Yeah.
I don't know how it is for you.
I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
But I think it was when like Paradise City came out and you saw them playing in front of that huge audience. For me, anyway, like I said, I love that first record. Like everybody loved that first record. Like I said, and then Dizzy came in the band and Matt came in the band. There were some changes in the band. So, to be honest, I wasn't paying attention as much as I did before. So, word was out that Izzy was leaving the band. And I remember I go, God, who are they going to get and stuff? So I called Josh Richman. Josh has been around and I've known Josh once again about as long. I went to acting classes with Josh in like 81 or something. So I called Josh because I know he'd been working with him. I go, hey man, what's going on and stuff? He goes, yeah, it looks like Izzy's going to leave. And I go, well, if they're looking for a guitar player, throw my name in the hat. And sure enough, I was working at the Lingerie doing sound. And I came home at like 2 a.m. Danielle goes, hey, Slash called. I go, Slash? And then put 2 and 2 together. What's he calling me for? So I checked the message, and he goes, yeah, we're looking for a new guitar player. He didn't give me any more information. He goes, can you come down to play with us? And it was that day. Like, he called me that night, but I wasn't around. He goes, come this afternoon and play 2 or 3 songs with us. I literally listened to the songs in a cassette on the way and, like, didn't play on my guitar. Was just hearing them in my head. And I played with them. I played like 3 songs with Matt, Duff, and Slash, and it went well. It just seemed really, really natural, and that happened again. And let me clear this up. After that rehearsal, I went back home with Joe Dog, and Joe Dog, like I said, was in the Blackouts. He was in Dogs D'Amour, and when I ran into him, he goes, oh my God, I just got a call from Slash. They're looking for a guitar player. And I'm going, oh, they are. I just got back from rehearsing with them. So my thought was, oh, I guess I didn't get the gig. They're calling Joe. Sure enough, by the time I got home, I got another call from Slash. He goes, hey, can you come down again tomorrow? So I did that for 3 days. I played with them. Didn't hear anything from them. And then the next Monday came along, and this is a true story. I'm sitting in my apartment.
Before you tell the story,
Okay.
Tell me about the apartment. Tell me your finances, if you don't mind me
so
asking.
the
at this
apartment
time.
was on Alfred, off of Melrose Place in Hollywood. It was. Do you know where that is? Alfred was basically 1 block east of La Cienega, and it was off of Melrose Place, not Melrose Place. Remember that tiny little street there?
Yes.
So Danielle and I had a little 1-bedroom apartment there, and back in those days, I'm sure you did the same thing. MTV was always on your TV, but the sound was probably never on.
Yeah, it was a fish aquarium.
Yeah, exactly.
It was your fish aquarium. That's the way I've always
aquarium.
explained it.
So I'm sitting on the phone, and of all people, who am I talking to? Ryan Roxy. I'm on the phone, and Ryan and I weren't in a band together at that time, but we were still friends. I'm talking to Ryan on the phone, and as I'm talking to him, I look up, and my picture is on MTV on the news thing. I swear to God, this is true. And I look up and go, what the fuck? Next thing you know, I get a beep. I go, hey, Ryan, I got to take this. And on the line, it's Slash. He goes, hey, man, you got the gig. Learn all the songs. We're leaving next week. I swear to God. He goes, all right. And I go, and he hung up.
So you were in the band before you even they knew anything. They had already issued a press release in the band.
Announced it, yeah. So then I clicked over.
You found out you were in Guns N' Roses by seeing a picture of you on MTV,
on MTV News. Yeah, I swear to God. That's the first thing that I found out. And so I clicked over to Ryan. I go, hey, Ryan, you're not going to believe this, but I got the GNR gig.
What did your stomach? I mean, was it?
I'm not a nervous person.
Right.
I'm not a nervous person. There was so many things I was thinking of. I mean, the reality of what I was thinking of is I got to learn 50 songs in a week and play an arena show with these guys next Monday is my first show with them, and I got to learn 50 songs. And by the way, I didn't rehearse with them. They just said learn the catalog and left me with that. It wasn't like learn the set list, which would be 25 songs. It's no, learn 50 songs. That's what I was thinking of. And I wasn't nervous. I was just like, if I want this gig, this is what I have to do to get it,
Our perspective, and I speak of the LA scene, Gilby was the guy that was everybody's friend because you got along with everybody, and you were the guy that wasn't in the band that got the gold record.
That's right.
Everybody else
yeah.
had all their bands.
Yeah.
And so when people said, yeah, Gilby got the job filling in for Guns N' Roses, everybody was stoked because oh good, our friend Gilby got because everybody else got a break. Everybody else, because pretty much if I look, all of my friends that were musicians, everybody, even like Ryan Roxy, who's still out on the road with Alice Cooper. Everybody got gigs.
Yes.
So we were all happy because Gilby got the gig playing with Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
So the first show was
in Boston, and I remember this because another Ryan thing, but. I believe it was Electric Angels. I'm pretty sure it was Electric Angels. So I got to Boston for the very first. Actually, we're playing 2 nights in Boston, and when I got there, the Electric Angel guys were in town playing at a show in town the night before. So I went out with all the guys, with Jonathan, John, and Ryan, and all the guys, and hung out with them. And it's the first time I ever drank Jägermeister. They were drinking Jägermeister. Oh, Jäger, this is great. It's cough syrup. And I kept drinking. I got so hammered.
Which in my whole time, I'm trying to think if I've seen you hammered.
No, nobody's seen me hammered. I always know when to stop. Right. I hope I do. So the hanging out with the guys all night, what was good about that was I got hammered, and the next day I had the worst Jägermeister hangover. And I think that hangover took the edge off for me. I really do, because it didn't go away. All day, it didn't go away. And there's so many other things that go through your mind besides, oh my God, I got to remember all these songs. But other things like what do you wear? It's not like there's uniforms, It's like It's Guns N' Roses. I mean, we all wore what we wore. We didn't have stage clothes.
But you still spent a lot of time to look like you don't care what you're wearing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we looked at what Keith Richards was wearing, and we go, okay, let's get the black pants, the scarf. But yeah, I mean, even things like that. I mean, the Guns guys from back then, it wasn't one of those bands that really talked a lot amongst each other. Everybody was kind of in their own world. I mean, the band, besides Axl, hung out a lot together. But it's not like I can really go, hey, Slash, what do I wear tonight? I mean, that's not cool.
No.
It's just not cool. So it's just things like that was stuff that was on my mind. What the fuck do I wear tonight? What guitar I didn't. These guys had already been out for a couple months. And the Illusion records were just coming out. But I didn't have enough guitars. I really only had 4 guitars to my name. Slash probably had 20 on the road with him. So it's things like that were the things that I was thinking of at that time.
The first time you walked on stage, obviously, was the biggest stage crowd you've ever.
Well, no, that's not true. In Candy, we opened for Rick Springfield on a tour, so we did play arenas, but headlining, it was by far the biggest show as a headlining band.
Were you nervous walking out there?
No, never. Yeah,
no?
I'm not nervous, Ricky. It's so odd. It's so odd because I'm just not a nervous person. I was excited. I was anxious. I was ready. I'm fucking ready for this. I mean, my whole life, like you said, everybody else got gold records. This was my moment. What was odd is when I got out there, the audience was so receptive, and I really believe that just because Izzy and I don't look that different, people really didn't know Izzy wasn't in the band.
Right.
And I think that like Slash had always said back then, he was really amazed at how that transition went so smoothly. It was just kind of accepted. People didn't, rebel about it and stuff, and it was a big move for the band. But what I didn't realize was what I never done before. All the bands I've ever been in, we barely played even a headlining set, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. They played for 3 hours. And what I didn't realize about that, as a musician or a singer, you rarely eat right before the show because you don't want to feel heavy and stuff like that, you know? So, like, I hadn't eaten for a couple hours before the show, you know, during the show, and the show's going on, and the show's going on, and the show's going on. And, like, I'm getting hungry. Like, you know, we're drinking, too. The band was big drinkers. So I'm drinking. I go, this is a different buzz, you know? And finally I said to my guitar tech, you know, I said, hey, man, I'm starving. Can you go get me some pizza or something? Of course, he went and got me the pizza. Matt is doing a drum solo. And one by one, all the guys, whether it was Duff, Slash, or Axl, was coming up to me, man, dude, are you okay? Like, they were, you know, really concerned. Are you okay? Is everything going well and stuff? And when Axl came and checked on me, I literally had a piece of pizza in my mouth going, yeah, I'm fine. What's going on? like, don't worry about me. I'm fine. I was just fucking starving. That's all. And that's what I remember about the first show, you know, is I had a terrible hangover, I was hungry, and it was really fun.
There wasn't a lot of time in between being Gilby that some people knew from these bands to walking out and being like Gilby Clarke and Guns N' Roses. Like, it happened. Did it, like, really hit you quickly? Like, all of a sudden it's like, Gilby.
No, it didn't hit me quickly. It didn't, to be honest, I don't think about things like that. It just, I mean, also, you know, we go through our lives, like I'm sure once you know, had Cathouse and you had Headbangers Ball, you were recognized more. And you get used to it. You get used to when you go to the gas station and somebody's looking. You know, you just kind of got, you know, you don't always assume, oh, everybody knows who I am. But even in the early Hollywood days, like I said, I've been around for a while. I've been in a couple of bands. I mean, you know, if you were around Hollywood, I knew people. I knew guys at the gas station, at the grocery store. So I was kind of used to that. I mean, granted, this is a whole different level. You know, it was, I mean, you know, that band was huge, you know, but I still think that, you know, people knew who Slash was. They knew who Axl was. You know, we still, you know, I still had a little bit, you know, that people didn't know who I was.
So all of a sudden you went from, you know, living in your apartment, all of a sudden you're making some good money being with Guns N' Roses. And then I come into the picture to fuck everything up.
Yes, you did. You ruined my... All right, so how does this happen? So, I mean, obviously there were a lot of things going on during those days. And
so you played how many shows with Guns N' Roses?
Well, at that time, I don't remember if it was. I've definitely been in a band for maybe a year. But remember, that tour was a 2.5-year tour. And we were on... Now, also, that tour was so long, we never had long breaks. Ever. Like, it was... If the longest break was maybe 2 weeks, you know, in between an American run to, like, a European run or something. We never had a lot of time off. And we had an unexpected break. We were playing in the Midwest somewhere, and Axl, something happened or whatever, but the show was cut short. So we went home before we were about to start the next leg of dates. Like, we had like a week off or something. And I remember you calling me and go, hey, we have this celebrity motocross race that we're doing. I know you ride. You know, you basically called all your friends that rode motorcycles.
Yeah, that rode motorcycles on the street.
Yeah, street.
We didn't have any dirt, really know what we were doing on dirt.
But I think all of us thought, motocross, what's the big deal? We all grew up on it when we were younger, but it is a different level at that time. And I said, yeah, that sounds like fun. Now, Daniela did caution me and go, what are you doing riding motocross? You know how I go, Daniela, motocross, you can't get hurt in the dirt.
I think she even said something to me like, he better not.
Get hurt.
Yeah, something like that.
So, of course, with the day before, we all went on a test ride, you know, to check out the bikes, check out the track and everything. And sure enough, man, I went down and I broke my wrist.
Which is kind of important when you're a guitarist.
Yeah. Breaking anything.
Danielle was so mad at me.
She was so mad. She was so mad. I mean, I was kind of mad at myself because I really didn't see it coming. I mean, I really believe what can happen, you know? And but what's funny was my friend Andrew was with me at the time, and he drove me to the nearest hospital because it was like out of Lake Castaic or something. It was a long ride, and my wrist was broken bad. And, you know, he gets in the doctors and he's telling doctors, be very, very careful. He plays guitar, you know, and all this kind of stuff. But, yeah, that was, I'll never forget having to make that phone call to Slash and telling him what happened. And he was not happy.
No.
Yeah.
But what did, because I don't.
Now, they gave me permission. I did ask. You know, I wasn't going to do anything. Like I said, hey, man, you know, we have this like celebrity motorcycle race. I go, it's celebrities. We're not going to do anything crazy. I'll be careful and all that. And he goes, oh, yeah. No, don't worry. He goes, if you feel good, you know, do it. And
do you remember who was racing in that race with us?
Well, I remember Kelly Nichols, didn't he break his arm too? On that?
Yeah. Then I brought Kelly Nichols in that was in L.A. Guns and Faster Pussycat for a while.
Yeah.
And then he broke his arm in the race too. So they decided not to let any of me and bring my rocker friends in anymore. But the other actors, do you remember what actors were?
Oh, no, I do. There was some. God,
Matt LeBlanc.
Oh my God,
that was in
right.
Friends. He was in it.
But there was another one that
Mark
won.
Paul Gosselaar.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mark Paul Gosselaar, who
he was
is a
really good.
great guy.
Yeah, really
done
really
tons
good.
of television, but a lot of people might remember him from being Zach on Saved by the Bell. Yeah. But he's done a lot of TV since, and he comes from motocross family.
Yeah, he was amazing. He was like a professional.
I got lapped like 3 times in the first lap. Like everybody did 8 laps, I did like 2, but I didn't break my arm. But that was a tough time.
Yeah, that was a hard time. What was hard about that was, obviously, I told the guys what had happened, and we were about a week later. We were about to start a whole European run, and when you do a European run, it usually takes months and months because while you're there, you got to cover everything. And I knew from breaking my wrist, I had to have surgery that I was going to be out for a while. And so, of course, we went to specialists and all that kind of stuff. But Axel, when he heard about it, he goes, "Fuck it. Call Izzy." And so they called Izzy, and Izzy took my place.
Were you scared?
Yes, absolutely. I really thought, when it was going down, I go, that's it. Izzy's going to go play back with them. They're going to get the old band back together and feel good about it. I really thought that was it. I said, all right, I had my run. It was good.
Why didn't he stay?
I'll tell you exactly what happened. So they went there, and I'll never forget because it happened really fast. It was kind of like, one day, all right, let's get Izzy. And 2 days later, they were in Europe about to start the tour. But what gave me confidence was I'd gotten a phone call, of course, at like 3 a.m. because they're 10 hours ahead of us, from Slash going, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm going, "I'm doing okay." "Well, how's your arm doing?" I go, "Well, it's the doctor says 2 weeks. Is it going to be shorter than 2 weeks?" and I'm like, these are odd questions, to be asking me and stuff. He goes, "Yeah, you really need to get your shit together and get back out here, right?" And then, click, another phone call. It's Izzy. "Hey, Gilby, how you doing?" I go, "I'm doing all right." He goes, how long is this going to take and everything? I go, "Well, it's probably going to be a couple weeks." He goes, "Well, yeah, you got to get out. I can't stand these guys."
He really just didn't want to be.
He didn't want to be there. Yeah,
anymore.
he didn't want to be there. He was over it. He's done. He was done. And it's the same thing. Like that worry to me that it's over. Like I said, one day it just wasn't. Slash wanted me there. Axel wanted me there. Izzy didn't want to be there. It definitely.
So you were on good terms with Izzy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
When was
Izzy
the last
and I were
time?
friends.
When was the last time you were in contact with him?
Well, maybe a couple years before.
But you haven't heard of him recently, have you?
No, I haven't talked to him.
Nobody
in years.
has.
Yeah.
Do you know what he's doing?
No, I don't. Honestly, I'd be guessing if I said.
Yeah.
Like I know Matt Sorum talks to him every now and then, Yeah. But I did talk to him. Like even when he was in Guns, we still were in contact, and run into him places, and stuff. We'd hang out and talk. But I knew Izzy like before Guns,
right?
So we definitely had a good relationship.
Because, like I said before, we really were sort of like an inner circle.
It was a small
and stuff
group
like
of
this.
guys that really were like the Hollywood guys, like you said.
But when the Guns N' Roses stuff kind of started, it was not a lot of rock and roll camaraderie hanging out with the bands. I mean, when I see them live, as much as I really love Guns N' Roses, I don't see camaraderie on stage.
No.
And it's not like that at all.
Yeah, the band. I mean, that's like look. There's a lot of positives about the band. Don't get me wrong. And I really believe that the strong individuals make what made Appetite for Destruction is such a great record, but what comes with that is, maybe and I'm not saying, hey, the guys don't get along. They get along. It's just that the band never was that, that brotherhood kind of thing. It was always everybody had their own thing, and stuff. It just I never really felt that brotherhood thing with them. I mean, maybe Slash and Duff feel that between the two of them, but look, I was really good friends with Slash. Spent a lot of time with them, did records together besides Guns and all that kind of stuff. But it never felt like that.
I assume before you have met the guys in the Rolling Stones, right?
No, not all of them. I've never met
really?
Keith, and I've never met Mick.
Okay,
no.
That I'm shocked.
I know people say that to me.
I'm shocked.
Well, when am I going to meet? I'm going to walk up to Keith Richards. He's going to go, "Oh, hey, Gilby." No,
right.
That ain't going to happen.
Because I've always said because I've been very blessed, and people said, like, have you met everybody you've wanted to meet? And I say, I'd really like to meet Keith or Mick.
Yeah.
So I would have taken for granted that you would have met them, but you haven't.
I haven't.
Would that be if you could meet any musician?
Oh, absolutely,
living?
without question. But the thing is, I think a lot of people feel this way. To meet someone that's your idol,
right?
You don't want to just go, hey, I'm Gilby, blah, blah, blah. And, you want to kind of hang out and go, hey, man, how's that Telecaster? Because I have spent time with Ron Wood, and I have played guitar with Ron Wood and talked to him about guitars and had those conversations you have with your contemporaries. But, like I said, I never had that, that moment. I've been to Stone shows, I've been to backstage. It just never really happened the right way.
But are there pinch me moments? I mean, I know people that you played with.
Yeah.
But what were some of the moments?
Then it's hard to remember. But even over the last few years, doing the Kings of Chaos stuff with Matt, playing with Robin Zander is the greatest thing ever. We did quite a few shows. Playing Surrender and hearing Robin Zander in front of you sing it, is incredible. Billy Gibbons, we played many shows with Billy Gibbons. I mean, every time I just sit there and my jaw's down, and I just going, it's incredible.
He is one of the greatest guitarists,
one of the greatest guitarists ever, yeah. I mean, Jimi Hendrix thought he was. That's good enough for me.
Exactly. So the Guns N' Roses thing ends. A little bit of bitterness?
Say again?
A little bit of bitterness?
No, honestly, not at all. I would tell you if I did. In all honesty,
because how many years did you spend in Guns N' Roses?
Well, really, about 4 or 5 years. Yeah. I felt on the tour, as the tour was ending, that the band was over. That was my honest, intellectual conclusion. This band's over. Duff physically looked terrible. The alcohol abuse was so bad that, he was bloated. I didn't think he had many days left. Axl and Slash were not seeing eye to eye. Axl saw the band one way, Slash saw it another way. I didn't see them meeting. It's not like I was trying to be in the middle or whatever. It just it was fractured. So towards the end of the tour, I got an offer to do a solo record because before Guns, I had a deal with Virgin Publishing. I was, a songwriter, and they offered me a record deal once I got the Guns gig to do a solo record. Look, I didn't want to do a solo record. I'd much rather do a Guns N' Roses record, but the band was not going to make a record for a long time. So I got the offer. I asked the guys, these are my songs. Do you have any interest in them for Guns N' Roses in the future? And they said no. I go, is it okay if I make a solo record? They said, absolutely. Keep yourself busy. So I did. I made the solo right after. So when you say was I bitter, I was already, on tour doing my solo record. I had already made, during my break, I had made the Slash's Snake Pit record with Slash, and was going to go on a tour. I was on the road for 5 years straight. The Guns thing, basically Slash called me and said, actually he didn't call me. He says, hey, meet me at Casa Vega. He goes, Axl doesn't want you in the band anymore. He goes, I don't know what it is. I honestly don't. He goes, just go with it. I'm not saying this is permanent. I'm just saying this is where it is. He wants to work on some new music. He doesn't see what we're doing, is viable. And that's also the time when Slash decided to make the Slash the Snake Pit record, because he didn't like Slash's stuff either, but he wasn't kicking Slash out of the band. Right. So basically, they didn't fire me, but my paycheck stopped. And then a week later, Slash had this revelation. He goes, "What the fuck are we doing? So we're going to replace Gilby?" And he called me. He goes, "You know what? Everything's fine. You're in the band. Don't worry about it." But my paychecks never came back, and that was it. So, like I said, I never officially was fired from the band, but it just kind of ended. So, and I was busy. I had my solo record. I had Slash's thing. It wasn't until many years later. And also, remember, it's not like I was not in the band and the band was doing anything.
Right.
They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything.
But there were bands, skipping away from Guns N' Roses, there were bands that it's just coming to me now, that you also played in that we don't remember. You were in Heart, weren't you?
Yeah. I did a tour with Heart, and I made a record with Heart. I made a couple records with Nancy Sinatra.
Which when you were involved in a couple bad motorcycle accidents.
Yeah.
And I remember one time seeing you at the hospital, and there were flowers from Nancy Sinatra. I'm like, dude, that's pretty badass to get flowers. What it's
agree.
like working with Nancy Sinatra.
Nancy is the sweetest person in the world, and what's great with Nancy is we have our Italian thing. You know, my mother's maiden name is Santarelli, so when I was playing with Nancy Sinatra, I had never gotten so fat in my life because we would go out and have a full-on Italian meal at 3:00 in the morning after the show. But she was sweet. She's just one of those people that. You know, as you go through life and you meet stars and stuff like that, they live in their own world. Whether you say, hey, I got a new car, they don't even hear you. Nancy's not that person. Oh, my God, what kind of car did you get? That's the way Nancy is. Like, she truly, if you're in her circle, she loves you and she cares about you. She doesn't bring everybody into her circle. But if she does, she really, truly likes you and cares about you. And that's what you get from her.
Do you remember the Cathouse 20th anniversary at the Key Club?
Was it the 20th one? Because we did a few.
Yes.
Was it the one Tracy was in it?
Yes.
Was Adler in it?
He might have done a song.
I think he did do a song or two because I think Stefan played bass. Because I'm trying to remember the Key Club one.
Don't you remember who?
Wait, was the only ones we did at the Key Club? I thought we did.
That was the 20-year anniversary.
Okay.
The 30 was the whiskey. We never did a 10-year anniversary.
No. So that's okay. So the Key Club.
Are you actually not remembering who played with you that night?
No, I don't. No.
Lemmy.
Oh my God! No, I do remember that. Yes.
Lemmy, Stephen Piercy.
Yeah.
But do you remember going up there with? Because when we were playing with Lemmy,
because I didn't know the song.
Right.
Yeah, I really didn't know the song. You know, when we were doing it, but it's when he came up to do it, and it just happened on the spot. Like I said, I figured it out quickly.
So it was you, Lemmy.
Yeah, but wasn't Tracy too?
You, Lemmy, Tracy Guns.
Yeah, but I thought it was Adler on drums.
Maybe it was Adler on drums. It could have been.
Yeah.
I think Stephen Piercy singing.
Yeah, Piercy was definitely there singing too. Yeah.
And do you remember, is there much that you remember? Obviously not.
No, I remember. Now that you brought up the Lemmy thing, I remember it distinctly. Like I remember because, like I said, it's just I never really learned Motorhead songs. You know, I mean, first of all, I never learned. Like I'm not someone who sits around and learns cover songs. You know, if we have a show and they go, "Oh, we're doing a song," then I learn it. But I remember, like I said, I didn't really know, the song, and of course, everybody in the audience knew it. And I knew it in my head, but I never really played it. But yeah, I remember playing it. Yeah.
So then we decided to do this. So there was obviously
now the 30th. I remember. I mean,
okay, but first, before we even did the 30th, I hit you up because this great idea that Live Nation had about doing Cathouse Live at a festival, which everybody seemed to like except me.
I got to tell you, Ricky, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I had one of the greatest days ever at that day. I loved it. I had so much fun.
Because we did a Cathouse Live Festival. I think there were like probably 14,000, 15,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
It was great.
It was a huge festival with every band.
Yeah.
Some of the bands I approved, some of the bands I didn't.
Yeah, I remember
but it was
you were
still
going through a hard
incredible
time with
experience.
that. Yeah.
So I pretty much put Gilby in charge of the All-Star Jam Band, and you delivered. You really delivered. Yeah. But what happened at the end sucked.
It was hard.
But tell us about who was in the All-Star Band for the Cathouse Live Festival, because this you put together.
Yeah. Now you got to realize this was a different time by this time. Doing even the 20th or doing those Cathouse shows were so easy. If somebody was in town and I call them, hey, man, Ricky's doing this thing. Do you want to come? Everybody said yes. There wasn't even a hesitation.
All these bands that played the Cathouse, I didn't really pay them.
No,
I mean,
exactly.
we had Motorhead probably played 1 billion times. All he wanted was some jack.
Yeah, you never had a problem. But in the new, like I said, and I'm not talking about the Key Club one. The Key Club one was pretty easy.
That was the 20th anniversary.
Yeah,
this was Cathouse Live was actually Cathouse's like 29th anniversary.
Yeah. So the Irvine show, when you told me about it, I didn't even think twice. I go, this is going to be easy. We're not going to play that many 8 songs, maybe 10 songs or whatever. But when I started calling like all the big people that we all know, some of them didn't even call me back.
No, and everybody wanted lots of money.
Everybody wanted a lot of money, man. It was really hard, like really hard. But I got a good core group of guys together that were in town and were available. Had Brent Fitz on drums that had played with Slash and has played with lots of different people over the years. Evan Seinfeld on bass, who's in
Biohazard.
Biohazard, been many Cathouse days. And I played guitar. And then for the guests, we had Brent Muscat played.
No.
Yeah. Brent. Yeah.
Oh, Brent came out.
Yeah. Brent came out and played.
Okay.
Yeah. Brent came up played. Phil Lewis sang.
Right. Me and Tammy did a song.
Yeah, you and Tammy. I was getting there. You and Tammy did a song.
Oh, you're starting low and working your way
exactly.
up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Chips Enough came out to play a song. Actually, played a song that Phil was playing. Nuno Betancourt came out and played with us.
Michael from Steel Panther.
Michael from Steel Panther did a great job of
Brownstone. Yeah, he did.
Great job. And then we had Sebastian Bach and Ace Frehley,
which was pretty damn awesome.
Pretty awesome.
I got to be honest. That I stood back. I watched you on guitar with Sebastian Bach, who I think is just a great frontman.
Agree.
I love Sebastian Bach.
Great frontman.
It was you, Sebastian Bach, and I'm watching fucking Ace Frehley on guitar, and you guys are playing, and it's great. And in the middle of the set, what happened? Do you remember?
Well, I'm gonna get.
Okay.
So anyway,
because it was great.
When I got Ace, that was great. Like, well, you got Ace.
How did you do that?
I just called him. I haven't known Ace for a long time and stuff. Like I said, it was hard getting people. So I called Ace. Ace wanted a fee, but his fee wasn't ridiculous like some of the other people I called. It was very reasonable. And like I said, transportation, hotel, all that normal stuff that guys need. He was very reasonable. He was excited about doing it. And so I told him who was at. I said, look, we're probably going to get people that are at the show to come and sing and all that kind of stuff. And I called Sebastian. Now, granted, I've worked with Sebastian a lot, and recently too. And I called him. He didn't get back to me. I sent him a text, and he didn't get back to me. And I put on the text, hey, we're doing the All-Star Jam. I got Ace, blah, 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 whatever. Never got back to me. So the day of the show, when like said, hey, remember my band played earlier in the day, right, and then we had that show later. During that time, I had a dressing room, because for both bands that were playing, and Ace was already there, and I went over to Sebastian, I saw him, like I think he had just played his set or something. I go, hey Baz, hey man, I called you, I texted you, I never heard back from you. It'd be so great. You're such a huge Kiss fan. Come up and sing a couple. And he goes, I got a problem with Ace. And I go, oh, you do? And he goes, yeah. Now, this is in Sebastian's book, the background of what happened. But Baz and Ace had an issue over a songwriting thing. So Baz obviously is the biggest Kiss fan, but he, was disappointed in the way Ace behaved in this. So, he didn't want to do it. And I go, oh, man. I go, people know you love Kiss. To have you on the show and Ace up there and you not do it, you have to do it. And he goes, you know what? You're right. Let's do it. Let's do it. So he came up. Now, Ace doesn't know anything that Baz didn't. I didn't say anything, right? And so they came into the dressing room, and the next thing you know, they're buddies again. They're talking. They're hanging out. What song are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. All. And so we were going to originally do 3 Kiss songs, but because Extreme went way over their time limit, like not a little over, way over, most bands that day played 35, 45 minutes.
That's it.
Some of the bigger bands might have played an hour. I think Extreme played 2 hours.
Which,
man.
No offense to the guys in Extreme.
Of course not. I know those guys.
But,
great guys.
but
yeah.
that was what I had big issues with Live Nation because I didn't want Extreme on the bill.
Yeah.
And they said that they probably didn't belong on the bill because it was a Cathouse show, and Live Nation insisted that Extreme
they're a Boston band.
And
They're
a
not
lot
an
of
LA
people
band.
left when they were playing because you're sitting here watching all these bands, and then they're doing this acoustic version of No More Words or whatever it's called. And like I said, I'm not slamming Extreme at all.
No, of course not.
They just didn't belong on that Cathouse bill.
It
And
wasn't
they
the
even
right
knew
fit.
it.
Yeah.
So it had gone so late. So here you guys are on stage.
Yeah. So we're playing, and like I said, look, Ace is the headliner of the All-Star Jam, and the All-Star Jam was really only like 6 songs.
Right.
And so we had to cut one of the Kiss songs. So we're literally standing on stage, me, Ace, Sebastian, talking. Look, we got time for one more song. Is it? It wasn't Rock and Roll All Night. That's the one that got cut. It was Deuce. It was Deuce. And so Sebastian goes, let's ask the audience. So he goes, what song you want to hear? This and this. And they said Deuce. So we started playing Deuce. And the next thing you know, halfway through the song, the stage started moving because it was a circular stage, so you can switch it. And they were cutting us. They basically cut the power and cut us. And we're like moving and like we're all standing. None of us had any idea what was going on. But we're facing the audience. And next thing I know, we're facing the loading docks. But apparently Sebastian made kind of fun of it. And he was like running backwards and everything. But yeah.
So there's, at that time, maybe 12,000 people there. Ace Frehley, Gilby Clarke, Sebastian Bach, Evan Seinfeld, everybody's on stage.
Yeah.
And they cut the set short. And who do you think everybody got mad at?
You.
Everybody's like, Riki, why would you do that? I'm like, no, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
That was not what happened at all.
Yeah.
But then we did the very last Cathouse, which was the Cathouse 30th anniversary.
That was so great.
And a lot of people don't understand why I would go to such small venues, but I sold out the Whiskey and Roxy without ever announcing a band.
Yep.
And nobody ever, when Twisted Sister played, I don't even know if you knew.
No, I didn't know.
Nobody knew.
No, you were really good about that. You
Nobody
saying,
knew because
I got a great band.
Because so many times people say, hey, band
tell
too
one
big to
person,
mention.
you told everybody.
And nobody knew. And it was the fastest sellout on the Sunset Strip with it, nobody knowing who played. And that was just a fun 2 nights.
So great. It was so great.
I think we were probably the only band that played both nights.
No, I didn't play both nights. I think
you
we
sure?
only played. Wait, maybe we did.
Frankie B played the Roxy.
Yeah, Frankie did. Yeah, Frankie and her Studs.
His
played.
daughter, which is another band you need to check out, Frankie B and the Studs.
Frankie and the Studs. That was so great watching them.
It was.
It was a great lineup. Like I said, you had Junkyard, Pussycat. It was just a LA. You had a really
Black Cherry.
Yeah, Black Cherry. You had a really good lineup. It was really, really strong.
And then we did another All-Star Jam, but that was more just like everybody in all the bands.
Yeah.
Do you remember what Corey Parks did that day?
Oh,
Corey
the
Parks,
fire!
Corey Parks, for
oh
people
my God,
that don't know,
so crazy.
Corey Parks is just this like really hot 6'6" bass player chick that was in Nashville Pussy that I have no problem saying could kick my ass.
Oh, absolutely,
Easy.
yeah.
But
She's
tell
a tough
everybody
chick.
what she did on stage.
So she was playing. We were doing a Motorhead, and she came down out of the audience into the front, and she did the Gene Simmons ball of fire out of her mouth, and it like lit the place up. I'll never forget that.
I thought it was the demise of my career because I thought she had burned half of the audience.
Yeah. But she knew what she was doing, man.
But it was really fun. It was the fastest sellout on the Sunset Strip, selling out the Whiskey and the Roxy without a band ever announced. Hollywood in the late 80s, we had places that we would go other than the clubs.
Oh,
like we would eat at the same places, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like what were some of the things that you really remember that were part of that era?
Well, I remember Tropicana Hotel, not Tropicana, the strip club, but
which we did go to as well.
Yeah. Not that I remember.
Right.
The Tropicana Hotel, and what was the little
Dukes.
The
Coffee shop.
The coffee shop.
It was called Dukes.
Dukes.
Yes, and it
Dukes.
eventually moved up to Sunset.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I remember. I remember going there for breakfast or being out all night and come on, let's just stay up and go have breakfast at Dukes. Ben Frank's.
Right.
We used to do Ben Frank's all the time. They had a great barley soup, I used to remember. What else?
But it would be commonplace to go to a place to get your flyers printed and see musicians doing the same thing.
Well, it was Bruce, Cece's place that did all the flyers, the one on Santa Monica in like Crescent Heights or something. His Cece, Bruce's parents owned that print shop, and they used to make everybody's flyers.
Softball games.
Oh, my God. The Sunday softball games. Those were, oh my God.
See, this is something that people don't realize. When I say that all of those bands that you all know from the LA rock scene, when I say it was a camaraderie, first of all, none of us ever thought we'd be, I mean, I'm the only guy that didn't really get a big record deal or anything, but nobody ever thought that we were all going to be rich and rich or famous.
I agree. I think
and we all hung out away from the clubs too. It was a family.
The Sunday softball games were so much fun. So we would do the Sunday softball games at Hollywood High, and most of the guys were still in their like skinny, the black fizzy jeans and eye makeup still on and stuff, but with a baseball cap, like a wife beater on. But we also remember we let girls play, and not to be a sexist,
especially because they were all better than me.
Yeah. Well, some of us were better and some of us weren't so better. But I'll never forget one time because it was a big deal to let the girls play. Because remember, there was a lot of girls in the scene and stuff, that hung out. And it was a fun day, the Sunday softball games, after hanging out in the club. Because like I said, everybody looked different and smoking and drinking in the afternoon and everything. But I'll never forget when letting the girls play, and somebody's girlfriend was playing second base, and she was one of the catalysts that was saying, no, you guys can't just have it a boys club, the girls have to play. And my brother was playing center field, and somebody hit a ball, and my brother threw the ball in, just a normal throw from center field to second base, and he broke her hand. He broke her hand just throwing the ball into the mitt. She caught it, and it broke her hand, and it was like the end of the girls playing and stuff. It's like, you guys play too rough. Well, we're just playing. We just play. It's not too rough or whatever. But Those are fun, man. I remember those.
Daniela told a story. Your wife told a story. She said, because that was at a time when I was still drinking, that she said she remembers me walking in with this like tiger coat and these girls.
I do remember the tiger coat. Yeah.
She that I would show up like, I'm ready for the softball game. And I had this like long furry tiger coat and these girls. And
well, once again, I just remember everybody still basically dressed from the night before and barely, hungover or still drinking or smoking or whatever.
This is obviously a time that'll never ever be duplicated.
No.
What is it that you miss?
Well, the camaraderie, to be honest, even though there was healthy competition, which there was. I mean, guys were proud of their band. My band's better than your band. My band sold more records. My band sold more merchandise. That's healthy. But my daughter Frankie is in a band, and they're young and the same age we were at that time, 25 years old. And she complains because that camaraderie isn't here anymore. It's not there. It's like, if Faster Pussycat hadn't played a show, they were on tour or whatever, we're going to play at the Cathouse, everybody went. There wasn't a reason. They just went. It's just that was the place to go and the place to be. And it was where we went on Tuesday nights, or Thursday nights with Bordello. That doesn't exist today. And like I tell Frankie, I said, Riki was an important part of the success of the rock world during those years. Cathouse was important. You did something that nobody else did. It was a rock, like a rock dance club. I go, that can exist today, but you need somebody with balls that's going to do something like that, to not do the normal thing, or you don't have to do the numbers to see if it's going to work or not. You just did it. It was an idea. Well, think about this. All of us guys were rock dudes, If somebody said, hey, I'm going to a rock dance club, we were going, I'm not going to a rock dance club. No way. Never. But we went every single Tuesday night, So that's what I'm saying is, sometimes you have to attempt that, do something different. And you did do that.
I want to thank Gilby Clarke for hanging out with me in the Cathouse Hollywood. Would you say in the Cathouse Hollywood? No, you'd say on the Cathouse. I want to thank Gilby Clarke for hanging out with me on the Cathouse Hollywood podcast. That doesn't sound right either, does it? You know what sounds right? Seeing Gilby Clarke live. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen him, and he's great. For the month of April, you can catch Gilby Clarke April 12th at the Yamava Casino Highlands, California. Okay, I think he wrote that wrong. Yamava Casino in Highlands, California. That's much better. Whew, I need some Cathouse coffee right now. April 26th, go check out Gilby at the Canyon Club in Agora Hills. And April 27th at the Canyon Club in Montclair, California. Go see Gilby. He's great live. And I'm pretty sure one of those Canyon Clubs didn't let me in one time. I don't remember which one it was. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me today on the Cathouse Hollywood podcast. I had a good time. I hope you had a good time being here as well. I want you to remember that CathouseHollywood.com and Cathouse Coffee are great ways to sponsor this podcast, because I say I don't have sponsors, but I do. I guess it's me that's sponsoring it. Also, check out the other podcast, Riki Rachtman Radio, the Triple R. Episode 3 of Riki Rachtman Radio was about my story hosting the Pornhub Awards. That's right, I hosted the Pornhub Awards, and Leah Vendetta was with me, and she joined me, and she's going to co-host with me as we discuss what it's like hosting the Pornhub Awards. It looks like in July, I think July 21st, maybe 19th, 20th, 21st, something around there. It looks like I'm going to be a tour guide at the Punk Rock Museum. Yes, I would say I am a metalhead. I claim that and wear it like a crown, but my roots are in punk rock, and I love me some punk rock and have some great memories. So I am going to be a tour guide, and each group is only going to have 30 people in it. So if you want to be one of the 30 to hang out with me, and we'll walk around the museum, and I'll tell you stories, and we'll chat, we'll take pictures, I'll sign whatever you want. But you're going to be stuck with me and 29 other people. So that'll be a tour at the Punk Rock Museum. I believe that's going to happen sometime in July. Maybe the Punk Rock Museum has the information now. If not, keep on checking my websites and all my social media. Don't forget, go to CathouseHollywood.com and you can get 10% off any Cathouse hoodie or hat by using the code Hollywood3. And if you go to cathousecoffee.com, you can get 10% off by using the code Hollywood3. I did have a good time, and I hope you did as well. I am Riki Rachtman. Remember to keep one foot in the gutter, one fist in the gold.